Walt Disney World, ladies and gentlemen, is back online for the first time in so long. It has been over 118 days since the theme parks last had an active operating day that you could go visit. It's unbelievable to know that it has been that long. Absolutely incredible to hear that Magic Kingdom, as well as Disney's Animal Kingdom, has officially come back online at this point. And Tyler, Katrina, Garrett, it sounds like a lot of previews have happened this past week leading into the official reopening of these parks. What have you heard? Anything positive, anything negative? Katrina, we'll start with you.
That's like very mixed. Depends on the timing. I mean, again, with like cast previews, there was like hit and miss. There's like a infamous photo that was released by a website that showed clustering by Seven Dwarf Mine Train. And then the same people saying, or other people saying, I've never seen that. And then other people saying, it's been great, it's been empty, you know? So it just, I guess, like depends on the timing. It depends on, like, I don't know. Like it's been hit and miss, I guess, the whole time. There hasn't been like a consecutive, this has been a great experience.
Yeah.
I've heard. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of people saying that they just got on rides one after another. They went on Peter Pan multiple times. They went on Space Mountain, all these different rides that usually you'd have to wait in a long line for. So it sounds like it was pretty dead, but then there was that picture like you just described of everybody over at Seven Dwarfs Mine Train in a big giant clump. And I think that was not necessarily indicative of the rest of the day. So
Yeah.
it's hard to tell because we're all the way across the country, obviously. But it seems like for the most part it was positive. I think, you know, some people messed with the ducks. Some people got in line a little too close to each other at Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. But other than that, I've heard mostly positive stuff.
And I'll tell you that one sort of viral photo of the experience of that Seven Dwarfs Mine Train clumping was all I saw of clumping.
Right.
So, you know, one photo out of an entire operating day or an entire preview period of people sort of not social distancing and everybody sort of rushing towards one opening. And it does appear like perhaps that was a situation where it was like they had reopened for the first time after a downtime or something where everybody's rushing in. However, it's important to also realize that that's something they have to deal with. So, you know, while we certainly understand that there was only the one photo sort of circulating that was a problem at any point, I do want to mention that with Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom official reopening to the general public now, on day one, did see some images of some of that clumping happening outside of guest relations.
I definitely saw that too.
Yeah, a lot of ticket problems. It sounds like a lot of reservation issues. So people having to line up for guest relations. I saw another video of people in line all the way down the walkway leading back towards the Contemporary Resort. Folks trying to get in. It does sound like there's going to be some hiccups when it comes to what Disney does with folks before the parks open. Because you're gonna have to corral everybody into one small area before those gates open up.
Yeah,
sure. It's going to be a problem.
Yeah, and I did see photos of how they want people, you know, for anybody that doesn't know, you park at Magic Kingdom and then you either get on the monorail or the ferry. I saw photos of the ferry where they had stickers kind of laid across different parts. So this is where one group stands. This is where another group stands. They're not letting people sit on certain benches. So, you know, the ferry's going to have a much lower capacity, but it's good that they're kind of spreading that stuff out. And like the other thing that I really love too, that I was not expecting, I shared some photos with the rest of the group, that, you know, rides like Jungle Cruise or the Animal Kingdom Safari, they put plexiglass up all over the place. Even all the lines, like there was another photo that we saw that was from Flight of Passage, and the whole entire queue just had a big giant plexiglass thing going through it. And while it may not look the most beautiful, I think that's just what's required right now, unfortunately. So they did a lot more than I expected.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm curious to see how often they clean this stuff because they put so much plexiglass everywhere. People are still going to touch it.
Right.
So I'm curious how often they're going to start, like, they have to wipe it clean. They have to, like, stop the queue so someone can come in and wipe it clean and, like, disinfect. And how often that's going to be. Because I saw people disinfecting, like, Splash Mountain. And so that seemed really interesting. Like, it was actually pretty cool to see how fast they were doing it, but then pretty thorough. So we'll see.
Have to be all over
I'm waiting for those videos to be released, so people, please share.
Yeah, I think it'd be very interesting to see, you know, the differences in crowd sizes between those annual pass holder previews, cast member previews, and then general public arriving. I would be very interested to see if there is any sort of capacity uptick, if it feels more crowded than the previews do. As to my understanding, that the previews and the general public were supposed to be very similar in terms of capacity. So with that in mind, I would hope that they would be sort of limited at the lesser levels. Garrett, did you hear anything about Walt Disney World's official preview period leading up to its grand reopening?
Yeah, I have actually. My roommates out in Florida, where I haven't been for several months, they went to the parks and they said that it was actually a pretty cool experience from watching their videos and stuff. It looked fairly empty, and I could tell that they were hot from having to wear the mask. But unfortunately, that is the thing that must be done now. But overall, they said it was a great experience, and from what I've seen via Twitter and YouTube, the emotional experience was amazing because the magic is being released after all this time. They're getting to see the princesses and Mickey and the gang come down Main Street, and for that, it's so uplifting to see, like, you know what, some sense of normalcy has returned. However, the reality of having to wear masks and the social distancing, that does take a toll on them. But overall, a great experience. The only thing I've seen a sort of hiccup in was some of the queue lines don't make very much sense when it comes to the social distancing. Say, for example, on Jungle Cruise, the indicators where it is to stand are not all evened out. Like, I'd have to show a picture, but some lines aren't as straightforward. Like the queue for Kilimanjaro Safari, straightforward, but you know, for attractions like Big Thunder Mountain and Jungle Cruise, they're sort of windy, so it can be a little confusing by that. But overall, great experience, and I'm curious to see how everything will go now that it's running full-fledged. But overall, things are looking good so far. I just hope everyone follows the rules and that things are getting cleaned.
Yeah, it certainly seems like we're hearing mostly full compliance with mask orders and all of those potential issues that we knew Disney could possibly stumble over from a guest perspective, right? People that they can't necessarily control all the time, maybe trying to make a statement or be vocal or say that they're not in a capacity to wear it. Maybe they have a certain condition. Haven't seen any of those yet. I am kind of counting down the days because I know that viral video is coming at some point. Of somebody challenging the authority of Disney when they go into the kingdoms.
The Karen.
Yes, well, somebody like that. But I will say that it looks very nice from the perspective of entertainment, you know, being sort of circulated through the parks at Animal Kingdom and at Magic Kingdom at random times. There is no sort of set and structured form to the entertainment. It just sort of happens, which to me seems even more magical because you just don't know when it's going to come around the corner at you.
I think it's better that way, so you don't have people lingering and waiting for it to come out.
I think that's the idea.
Yeah,
Yep.
I saw one picture during cast previews of like a whole lineup of people waiting for something to come around. So I think obviously they saw it in a distance and they were just waiting. And I was like, ooh, that's a lot of cluster. Like, I got kind of nervous, but then I see other videos and they're like, there's like not a lot of people, except for like one lady was like running, trying to find like a picture of Tinkerbell. Because the one Tinkerbell, that float is so cool.
The treasure chest?
Yeah, she's like sitting on top of a treasure chest. I was like, oh my God, that's like so magical just to see it come around, you know? I like how they're doing the spreading of the characters.
I will say I think it's kind of weird, and we discussed this briefly. I just think it's kind of weird that these characters, the face characters, are not wearing masks. I know that that's part of the Disney image. I know that the magic is supposed to be there and everything, but like we saw that picture of Gaston, and I guess he's trying to stay away from people, but at the same time, I'm like, I could see some, I could see some ignorant person coming in being like, why do I have to wear a mask if Gaston's not wearing a mask?
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, so I don't know. I just think that's kind of weird. I get what they're going for. I get that their IP is very important to them, but also at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I'm mixed feelings about it. So,
yeah. But people surrounding at least Gaston, the cast members, have their masks
poor cast
on.
members that have to be near Gaston with all of his spit flying out everywhere.
Does he spit a lot?
Gaston
I didn't know that.
Spit is nothing. Gaston spit is nothing short of magical because it's from Gaston.
You would know.
Remember
Gary would take
when
his
he
spit
spits,
all day.
10 points for Gaston. 10 points for Gaston. They've gotten really creative with how they do these cavalcades. They brought out the mirror float or the glass float that they had for so many years, which is now iconic. And I like how they brought out Merida on Angus. That's just really, really cool.
Yeah.
I loved that.
How often do you get it? how often do you get to see Merida on a horse? You never do. It's always her on the bagpipes with her brothers popping up.
Yeah, I thought that was cool about Gaston too, with the horse. Yeah, I agree with you, and I like seeing like the country bears up on the balcony and stuff. I think all that stuff is cool, and it's you don't get to like interact exactly with the characters, but it is awesome to see them doing something new, right? That's what I think is neat.
And they can react to you at a distance. So you know the way in which this is being handled, I think, is probably the best way it could have been, given the fact that they are so restricted in what they're able to do at this point.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.